Why does your rabbit stare at you like that? Still, silent, unblinking? Is it fear, curiosity, affection? Not exactly, because that stare isn't random. It's communication. And what your rabbit is trying to say depends entirely on how well you understand them. To your rabbit, your face is a signal, your presence is a test, and sometimes their stare is the only warning you'll get. Let's start with the one most owners misread. Number 1, is my rabbit warning me? What if your rabbit isn't just looking at you, but warning you? Because when a rabbit stares without blinking, ears tilted back, body tense, it's not curiosity, it's survival. This is the assessment stare, the one that asks, are you safe or are you about to hurt me? You might think you've done nothing wrong, but rabbits remember everything. That sudden movement, the time you pick them up without warning, the change in your scent after using a new soap. To you, it's nothing. To them, it's a pattern break, and that can trigger fear. This kind of stare means they're gathering data. Your posture, your voice, your stillness. Prey animals like rabbits don't shout when they're scared. They freeze, and they watch. If you move too fast, you break their trust. If you stay calm, you earn it back. And here's where it gets more intense. Some rabbits never stop staring like this. Not because they're afraid in that moment, but because they never fully unlearned fear. And unless you decode it early, you'll always be a stranger to them, even years later. Number 2, when the stare isn't normal. What if the stare you're seeing isn't behavioral but medical? Because sometimes a rabbit stare is a red flag. If your rabbit is sitting hunched, eyes wide, breathing shallow, and completely frozen, that's not normal. That's pain. Or worse, shock. This is the stare that doesn't break when you call their name, doesn't shift when you move closer, doesn't soften over time. It's locked, and it's urgent. You might see this if your rabbit has GI stasis, head trauma, or severe stress. In some cases, it's the beginning of seizure-like symptoms, especially if paired with body tremors, loss of balance, or sudden collapse. Many owners miss this moment because it doesn't look like panic. It looks like stillness, but it's the kind of stillness that comes before things go very wrong. If you ever see a fixed, wide-eyed stare that lasts longer than a few seconds, especially with other physical signs, act fast. Get them warm, get them calm, and get them to a vet. This stare doesn't mean curiosity or dominance or trust. It means something's deeply wrong and you're their only chance to stop it. But here's the twist. Not all intense stares are emergencies. Some are performances. Quiet little tricks rabbits use to train you without a single sound. We'll decode that at the end of this video. 3, is my rabbit trying to tell me something? What if your rabbit's stare is a message and you've been missing it? Rabbits don't meow, they don't bark, but they still speak with their eyes, ears, and stillness. When your rabbit stares at you from a distance, ears slightly forward, body relaxed but alert, they're trying to get your attention. It could mean they're hungry, bored, curious, or in pain, and the difference between those is subtle but critical. If they stare and shift their weight, they might be asking for interaction, a gentle pet, a treat, a doorway opened. But if they stare and freeze, completely still, with wide eyes and no blinking, that can be a sign of discomfort or illness, especially if they've suddenly stopped being active or stopped eating. Rabbits hide pain, it's instinct, but they'll often stare when something's wrong, like GI stasis, gas, or stress. So don't dismiss it. Your rabbit may not be making noise, but they are talking, and if you don't learn to read it, you'll miss the only warning they're willing to give. And hey, before we move to the next one, make sure to hit like and subscribe so we can get this video to more people who love their rabbits as much as you do. 4, is my rabbit trying to be the boss? What if that stare means your rabbit isn't asking, they're asserting? Because sometimes a rabbit isn't afraid or needy. They're testing you, especially if the stare comes with planted feet, slightly raised chin, or a nudge that feels more like a demand than a greeting. That's not a look of love. That's a dominance check. Rabbits have social hierarchies even with humans, and staring is one way they test boundaries. They might be claiming territory, waiting to see if you'll flinch, or expecting you to respond on their terms. It's common in unbonded pairs or in rabbits who haven't fully accepted you as the leader of their space. You might notice they do it right before blocking your path, nudging your hand away, or circling your feet. These behaviors aren't aggressive on their own, but when paired with that locked stare, they become communication. They're asking, who's really in charge here? And if you ignore that, things can shift fast. 5. Does my rabbit actually love me? What does it mean when your rabbit stares at you? And nothing else happens? No movement, no tension. Just calm, steady eyes like time slowed down. This is the stare most owners miss because it doesn't demand anything. It doesn't look dramatic, but it means everything. Rabbits don't hold eye contact unless they feel safe. It goes against their instincts as prey animals. When they stare softly, ears relaxed, breathing slow, body still, it's not a warning. It's not confusion. It's trust. They're saying, I see you. I'm not afraid. I'm okay here. And in rabbit language, that's the highest form of affection. You might see this when you're lying on the floor, not doing much, or when they're loafed near you, quietly watching. No blinking, no flinching, just being. It's how they bond. Quietly, without fanfare. Some people think love is licking, cuddling, or following you around, and yes, those are real signs too. But this stare is quieter, and often more honest, because rabbits don't fake calm. If they trust you enough to stare in stillness, you've already earned something deeper than attention. You've earned presence. Number 6, is my rabbit bored or lonely? What if your rabbit stares not out of fear, love, or dominance, but out of loneliness? Because boredom in rabbits doesn't always show up as chewing or digging. Sometimes it just looks like watching. If your rabbit stares at you for long stretches, especially when you're distracted or on your phone, it might be their only way of saying, I'm still here. And the tragedy is, most owners don't notice until the behavior escalates into depression, destructive chewing, or refusal to engage. But if you catch it early by responding to the stare with attention, not dismissal, you prevent all of that. You remind your rabbit they're not invisible. This stare doesn't scream, it whispers. And if you listen closely, it's always asking the same thing. Do I still matter to you? Number 7, does my rabbit want something from me? What if your rabbit stares just to train you? Because yes, some stares are strategic. Rabbits are sharp. They notice what gets a response. If you gave them a treat once when they stared at you near the fridge, they'll remember. If you scratched their head after they held your gaze for 10 seconds, they'll try it again. This is operant conditioning in action, except you're the one being conditioned. Your rabbit isn't being manipulative, they're being efficient. Why thump or beg when a stare works better? But here's where it gets tricky. If you always give in, you teach them that staring is the shortcut to getting what they want. That can spiral into frustration or even territorial behavior if ignored later. So what do? Acknowledge the stare, pause, then decide if it's the right time to reward or wait.